Right, hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. We have Kitty Pryde deep dive and it looks quite interesting. I am personally, definitely, already interested in the champion and it looks quite solid. Obviously it's far too early to jump to any conclusions, and everything that I say is just kind of early impressions at this point. But there is plenty to like about the champion. First things first, the numbers themselves, they do not necessarily scream out this is going to be absolutely extraordinarily good, but it definitely does seem like you can work with and it's going to be quite decent. Need to figure out how practical and how well it all kind of flows together, but when it comes to numbers and damage, there are far worse champions being released this year, like Super Skull and Psycho Man and so on and so forth. So that part looks good. Now, obviously, when it comes to Kitty Pryde, she does phase quite a lot. And it's kind of a reverse ghost phase, where every time you dash forward, you phase. And that is also very useful, because you can basically safely intercept whenever you want. So that is definitely helpful. To me, she kind of reminded me more polished version of Invisible Woman, maybe, because obviously there are still downsides if you do phase, but you don't lose all your damage. You're just gonna end up gaining some incinerates and then losing some of them afterwards. Nice, we're gonna get to that. First things first, she's gonna be fully incinerate immune, which, you know, is neat. And then she has access to prowess, and she builds prowess quite similar to Jubilee. Basically, just strike the opponent, but your critical hits have a chance to grant you a prowess. If you inflict a stun effect or get stunned, then you gain a prowess too. So basically every time you parry, you gain a prowess. If you get hit a guaranteed crit, which is obviously not what you're going to be relying on when you use Kitty Pryde, then you gain 2 prowess. So that's important to know that, for instance, Corvus is going to be generating a lot of prowess against her. And if you happen to get passively stunned, then as well, you gain 2 prowess. Also, whenever you intercept, you gain 2 prowess, and you also gain, I believe, 3 prowess whenever opponent misses, but then you will lose 6 prowess once that phase expires. So whenever you force opponent to miss, you want to use them prowess immediately, otherwise you're going to basically get minus prowess. Also, each prowess is actually very weak, 5%. So at 20 of them, which is max stacks, you gain 100% special attack damage, which, let's face it, isn't all that much. But there is a way to increase potency of those prowess effects, which is to keep opponent incinerated. And as long as they're incinerated, your potency can be increased up to 400%. And if opponent doesn't have an incinerate on, then it slowly reduces, kind of like, I don't know, Purgatory's charge mechanic, or Gladiator Hulk's crowd excitement. When you're aggressive, it goes up. When nothing happens, it goes down. It's similar here. As long as the incinerate is on, it slowly goes up. And then if there is no incinerate on opponent, it goes down. Also, if you get inflicted with cowardice, all prowess is lost, but cowardice is extremely rare in the game. Also, while you're phasing, you become stun immune. So that's cool. So you can play around encroaching stun and plenty of other things. And also take 80% less damage from all sources, including recall and stuff. And it goes up to 100% if he's awakened. So that's good. Now let's take a look at special attacks. So the final 3 hits from this special attack inflict incinerate debuffs, dealing not too much damage, but combination with prowess, you know, it's okay, but it's still not going to be main source of damage. It's kind of like a piece of utility, where you can actually also turn these prowesses into passive. That's another interesting thing with Kitty Pryde, where she can alternate in between passive and active buffs. We're gonna see that a bit later. So incinerates inflicted by this attack expire 1 at a time, so it's kind of like Howard did that there. With 10 plus prowess, incinerates will trigger through block. Now, this is quite clearly largely a defensive ability, which is going to be something to keep in mind when you fight against her. It might be neat very, very rarely offensively, but 9 out of 10 fights, this is going to be something you need to figure out how to work around. So you're going to need to be able to evade the special attack or bring Incinerate immune champions. And yeah, so here we can see the Incinerates, they aren't the most potent ones, realistically. They're not awful, but, you know, they're definitely not great. And yeah, here we can see about the phasing and how it works. And now we're going to take a look at Special 2 and Special 3. So Special 2 is the damage special attack, like it is the case with majority of the newer champions. Each hit deals a burst of physical damage equal to 40% of the damage dealt by the hit. So keep in mind with the promises you can be dealing reasonable extra amount of damage. And with 10 plus promise, gain an unblockable buff lasting 9 seconds plus an additional 0.25 seconds for each promise about 10. So yeah, you can actually have quite decent uptime on that unblockable, especially because I believe whilst you throw special attacks and whilst you're phased, you can kind of pause them. You pause phase, you pause your miss mechanic whilst you're throwing special attack, and I think all your buffs, but well, we're gonna find that out when we have full breakdown details. And Special 3 is actually fairly straightforward. It inflicts a really long Incinerate that obviously is quite important for longer fights to keep your promise potency up. And then on top of that, if you're phasing already, that extends your phase to 4 seconds. If you weren't phasing, it just gives you a phase for 2 seconds. And there is another very interesting ability that comes from her signature ability. So her signature ability is while phased, take no damage from any source. So normally that's you take 80% less damage, whilst if she's awakened, you take 0 damage from any source. And here is that similarity of like inbuilt hood synergy that would be for Ghost. Obviously, I'm not saying that she's gonna be the next Ghost, because I actually personally happen to believe that the reasons why Ghost is as great as she is the ability to bypass away, not relying on any debuffs, easy openings, which she will have, but also ability to convert all damage over time effects is incredibly powerful, and I think kind of like one of the cornerstones of Ghost, as well as ability to gain extra power. Now, she does also have ability to gain extra power, but it's kind of weird and much more situational. While phased, gain 250 defensive combat power rate, and pause phasing while being struck. And normally, this ability will mean nothing, because opponents can't hit you while you're phasing. But this is going to be kind of the answer to, I guess, the spam of true focus everywhere. Because if opponents can hit you while you're phasing, you're going to take no damage, and you're going to get a ton of power. So that will obviously also lead to a lot of interesting mechanics. I was laughing before when I said that it'd be funny if Kitty Pryde ignores true focus or something like that, because it's getting spammed everywhere, and champions that bypass miss. And this is kind of that, because you don't take any damage when you get hit, and you gain a ton of power. So, we'll see how this works out, how practical it's going to be, but it's just kind of interesting. I'll use the word interesting here. And then also, the first time each personal Incinerate effect expires naturally or is purified, it has a 40% chance to re-trigger itself, but you know, it's 40%, it's nothing you can rely on. So overall, Kitty Pryde definitely does look quite interesting. She is going to have a very easy access to phasing every time you dash forward, so there is some similarity with Ghost. We'll see if it can be utilized as well. And obviously, ability to bypass damage taken and stuff like that. There are definite downsides when you try to compare her with Ghost, though. There are some upsides, for sure. But yeah, the ability to prevent away, the ability to gain power very quickly and get your special attacks very quickly, and the ability to convert damage over time effects into a lot of damage is obviously some of the most significant parts of Ghost as a champion. And we don't see any of that here, really. But we see plenty of other things. So, I'm definitely interested in champion. I'm not gonna jump in the air, say that this is gonna be the best thing ever to come to the game quite yet. Maybe it will be, or maybe it's just gonna be great or good. or underwhelming. We'll see it once we actually get to it. And that's, again, one important thing that I welcome every single one of you to do personally, is just hold your excitement and let it all roll out and let the pieces fall where they may. But she's definitely a champion that's worth paying attention to already. That much I can say. There is a potential for something very interesting and very impressive. Right, let's check out her synergies real quick. So synergy with Wolverine, where you gain basically, where you have a chance not to consume prowess once the phase ends after the misses. But again, it's 30%. It's nothing you necessarily want to rely on. Wolverine can gain some extra furies, but those furies are relatively weak. They're only 10%, so nothing too significant. At max, you can gain like 40% attack increase for Wolverine. He has far better synergies with like Apocalypse and Professor X and stuff like that, so that's not really all that. Kitty Pryde with Ghost, and having a synergy with Ghost is kind of very great, obviously, because Ghost is a champion you might actually be using daily. Each miss that occurs during phase grants plus 2 additional prowess. Now that is very good. That will definitely give you some extra damage. And Ghost, when entering phase during opponent's special attack, you gain Fury, so you gain more damage for Ghost. Why not? That's exactly what you need. Kitty Pryde with Emma Frost become immune to reverse controls, and each time this immunity is triggered, gain 1 prowess. That's a useful synergy. Immunity to reverse controls is always welcome. Especially, I think a lot of people got reminded how useful it can be against Grandmaster now. And Emma Frost gained 20% attack rating in Diamond form and 20% combat power rate in telepathic form. That's, neat. It's not game-changing, but it's good. With Tigra, while 10 plus prowess are active, become passively unblockable while phased. That's definitely useful again, because you can just dash in, and if opponent would hit you, doesn't matter, you phase through it, you're going to connect, or if they're going to block, you're going to be unblockable, and, can push through that. And increase neutralize for 35%. That's obviously super helpful for Tigra too. With Magneto, again, another alright synergy, but the synergy with a good champion, and that is much more useful, because these are synergies you might actually end up using, because you could be bringing in Tiger, Magneto, or Ghost in a quest. When phasing, gain +1 Fury buff for each debuff on Kitty, and each increasing attack rating by 7% for 5 seconds. Max 5 of them, so, get some buffs, Fury buffs. Not bad at all. It's nothing game-changing. And Magneto basically gets a weakness on special attacks, so, it's also neat. And with Dragon Man, increase the duration of Incinerate debuffs by 10 to 15%, or, well, basically passives 15%. So it's, again, neat. And Dragon Man, if no power charges are active while Special 2 inflicts up to 3 additional Incinerate debuffs. That's actually quite significant for Dragon Man, because that means that at that point, you can detonate your heavy for extra damage. And there is an unknown champion. All in all, I will repeat it again. I do think there are many good things about the character. I am very interested. I like the fact that she has that take no damage, so whilst phasing, you're going to be able to tank special 3s, you can play around recoil, you can use Liquid Courage Double Edge to heal yourself up. Plenty to watch out for, and yeah, definitely interested. Also, it's kind of funny with that, interaction that she's going to have with all the true focus nodes, where she's going to get a crazy power gain. Interesting. That being said, let me know what you guys think. Are you excited about Kitty Pryde? I know I am. And, well, I'm going to be closely checking out all additional information that comes about the champion. That's it for now, and I'm going to catch you guys soon. See ya. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information